This has been an amazing opportunity to, as I said before, to meet new people, to discuss these issues.
Tonight, the Pope's penitential visit to Canada starts Sunday.
We call Lac St. Anne Wakumne, or God's Lake. Long before settlers came, Wakumne has had a deep spiritual significance to the First Nation people.
Plus, Pope Francis will join thousands of pilgrims at Lac St. Anne, already known for its healing powers by the original people.
When I first looked at it, it was just amazing. It was like something I couldn't fathom.
And the surprisingly intact body of a 30,000-year-old baby mammoth is unearthed in the Yukon. Good evening and welcome to APTN National News. I'm Daryl Stranger. Residential school survivors from across Denendeh are preparing for the papal visit to Alberta this month. The Roman Catholic Diocese of Mackenzie-Fort Smith are sending 40 delegates to see His Holiness. Our reporter Charlotte Moore-Jacobs brings us more on the upcoming trip.
Simpson? Oh, I didn't know that.
Martina Norwegian remembers the positive impact the 1987 papal visit had in her community of Lillekwe, Northwest Territories. She hopes Indigenous communities will experience similar healing opportunities when Pope Francis comes to Turtle Island this month.
You know, like a lot of times we don't agree, but we still have to live together and we still have to walk parallel if we don't agree to try to understand.
Norwegian is a residential school survivor who attended LaPointe Hall and Bombas Hall in Lillekwe, Fort Simpson. She's also a faith keeper, involved in the Sacred Heart Church since 1995, and a lay presider who steps in to deliver church services when the priest is not available. Norwegian will be attending the papal visit in Alberta.
I just feel that my part in it and being part of the church has to somehow incorporate that. You know, like we're not two different organizations. The Pope is not, you know, like we're one. And so I think that whatever experience that I take away from this, I think it has to be relatable for in my homilies or in my sermons.
Norwegian is part of a 40-person delegation attending the visit, supported by the Mackenzie-Fort Smith Diocese. Bishop John Hansen says the trip is one part of a very long journey.
Just as an example, this trip itself, organizing these delegates, working with the other communities, this has been an amazing opportunity to, as I said before, to meet new people, to discuss these issues.
The Decho First Nation, along with other Indigenous groups in Canada, have called for the Roman Catholic Church to rescind the Doctrine of Discovery, a policy issued by the Church in the 15th century that defines land unoccupied by Christians as up for grabs.
Those documents no longer have any bearing. They're ancient documents, part of our history, which is unfortunate, but they have no current bearing on how we work in the world. So if symbolically they need to be repudiated in a public statement, I'm all for that.
Ernest Betsina is also a delegate and a residential school survivor who attended Grolier Hall in Inuvik.
I'm pretty sure that the Pope will apologize, but it's got to be authentic. It's got to be genuine. It's got to be to the people. And I'm hoping that the people will accept it. I'm hoping that people would start healing from there.
Before the papal trip, he will also attend the Dene National Special Assembly, where communities will discuss ground-penetrating radar in the search for unmarked graves on former residential school sites. He hopes a papal apology comes with compensation to survivors for healing services and the release of all records held by the churches.
For the graves that have not been identified yet, I'm hoping that they would find the right records, they would find the right who's buried, and whoever they may be, the spirits will rest easy.
The papal visit in Treaty 6 territory will take place July 25th and 26th. Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
The Lac St. Anne pilgrimage site in Alberta will be hosting Pope Francis on July 26th. For over 100 years, pilgrims have made their way to Lac St. Anne every July. APTN's Chris Stewart went to the site to see what preparations are being made for the Pope's visit.
2022 brings back the annual Lake St. Anne pilgrimage for the first time since 2019. Each summer, tens of thousands of people come to this sacred location and have been doing so since 1889. Now, the site is preparing for Pope Francis' visit. A new ramp has been built to allow people with mobility issues to be able to access the lake's water.
We call Lac St. Anne Wakumne, or God's Lake. Long before settlers came, Wakumne has had a deep spiritual significance to the First Nation people and was known for its healing waters. This site is sacred. Our people have taken the spiritual journey to these waters for generations, some walking here from great distances.
Chief Tony Alexis says the Pope's expected apology on Canadian soil will be the beginning of a healing journey for many, but not all.
For some, our people, Pope Francis' apology will not be enough. Healing is not linear. This apology will be a fundamental step towards forgiveness, closure, healing, and reconciliation for many others. Much like Wakumne, the healing abilities, it is fitting that the Pope's visit to this healing place will bring healing to so many.
Speaking today on behalf of the
Tracy
Lac St.
Fidel
Anne Métis
represents the Lac St. Anne Métis. She hopes the apology will begin to start the process of reconciliation.
We had taken ourselves to heart the apology of early April in Rome, and we feel that it's incumbent upon the Catholic Archdiocese and the Church in general to honor those words.
She hopes that the papal visit will bring attention and action to help identify and protect unmarked graves in the Lac St. Anne area.
We have been concerned about the unmarked graves for many years now, not only the past week when there's been highlighted attention to this issue. If the occasion of the papal visit helps us to ensure that these unmarked graves are accurately identified and properly protected, then I think we will all have achieved an objective, I think, that matters to all of us.
Up to 25,000 people are expected to attend to meet old friends, use the healing waters, and create memories that will last a lifetime. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Lac St. Anne, Alberta.
Alberta is bracing for the Pope's visit coming up next week, and according to Grand Chief George Arcand Jr., the Confederacy of Treaty 6 First Nations is overwhelmed with calls for information and support. He joins us now to discuss. Grand Chief, thanks so much for being with us here today.
Thank you, Daryl.
Now, there's going to be a huge number of visitors to your territory, and some residential school survivors may get a little overwhelmed. What's it been like planning for all of this?
Right from the beginning, we always thought that this event was going to be for residential school survivors, so that's always been our focus. So we've ensured that there's going to be support services and necessary folks that will help the survivors. I know people assume that we're talking about younger people, but really our survivors are more of a golden age. They're a little bit older, and we need to make sure we have services and support ready for the survivors that do come. So we're encouraging people to come to the activities that are happening here in Alberta, but essentially this event has been to give the survivors an opportunity to hear the Pope apologize.
And as you just mentioned, your news release today focused on survivors of residential schools. What information did you want to share with them, and why was it important to get that info out?
The important piece is that any survivors that want to attend the event, they need to talk to their national organization. So you have the AFN, ITK, and MNC, who have coordinators that will help ensure that those folks who need to attend have the opportunity to attend. In addition to that, Maskwacis and Lac St. Anne have websites. so people can get on those websites, get information. So everyone that's coming to the event needs to have a ticket, or you won't be able to get in. Secondly, there's some logistical challenges that are going to have to be looked after. People cannot just get up in the morning and drive to the event. There's going to have to be parking, and they're going to have to take buses into the event. So all these things people need to understand, and I hope that people just are patient with us, and as we work through some of the details, we'll try to make it as seamless as possible. But at the end of the day, we anticipate a lot of people coming to this to visit Edmonton and be part of each of the events, and we hope that we can accommodate especially survivors.
And of course, there's limited resources that Treaty 6 can offer, and you touched on it a little bit. How can people get the support they need, for this?
My understanding is that the federal government has talked to each of the national organizations to try to help and figure out how some of the resourcing can be supported so that they can bring survivors in to be part of the event. But in Treaty 6, we've been able to coordinate with the federal government the opportunity to ensure that we have access to resources for people's attendance at one of the events. And in addition to that, we've been able to work with the Archdiocese and the provincial government and some of the national committees to make sure that we have the resources on the ground. There's still some challenges, and there's still some hurdles that we have to climb over. And I hope that, again, people just have patience and respect that we're doing all we can to make sure that survivors can attend the event.
And lastly here, Grand Chief, has there been enough communication between Treaty 6 and the Catholic Church organizers in your view?
I don't think that we've communicated as much as we should have. And I think it's been a challenge. It's something, again, we're working out, and both sides have said that we need to continue communicating. The Pope visit was really announced almost like 2 weeks ago, was confirmed, even though we kind of had some indication. So the planning and activity and some of the infrastructure that's being put in the communities now should have been done a long time ago, not just when the Pope came. And I think we should have done some of these things, some time ago. But everybody now is trying to work together to find some of the solutions, and we're always going to still have the challenge of communication. It's always going to be a challenge, and it's something we're going to have to talk about after. But for now, we're just working hard to make sure all of the survivors have an opportunity who want to attend.
All right, Grand Chief, we'll have to leave it there. Again, thank you so much for taking a few minutes out of your day today to speak with us.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we need to step aside for a short break, but coming up, the countdown is officially on for next year's North American Indigenous Games.
We are so excited. 1 year is going to fly by, and we cannot wait to host almost 5,300 beautiful Indigenous youth from all across Turtle Island, right here in Chipuktuk.
Welcome back. The community of Matthias Cologne Cree Nation in northern Manitoba has evacuated its residents as a result of a fast-approaching wildfire that started last week. It is believed the fire was sparked by lightning. The Canadian Red Cross and the military over the weekend have been helping the community evacuate just over 2,000 people by small planes and also trains and vehicles to nearby communities, including Thompson and the Paw, as well as Winnipeg. While the fire has not reached the community yet, Chief Lorna Biggity says heavy smoke and low visibility will keep people away for a little while longer.
It was like a fast motion, fast. No time to think about anything. So everybody was cooperative. Everybody was scared. I was scared because it was too fast. We still have to make sure the fire is out, and the smoke is very dreadful. So it'll be a while before anybody can come home.
Facing backlash over what many felt were outdated competition rules, the Kamloopa Powwow in BC has made some changes. It says it's removed discriminatory language over gender and updated the rules to welcome all self-identified Indigenous people. In a statement, the Kamloopa Powwow Committee says it's adding a switch dance special and a two-spirit round dance. It's also in the process of adding a youth and a two-spirit member. The original rules stated participants had to be the correct gender to compete in certain dances and had to be 1/4 Indigenous. Participants and vendors had started pulling out, and many regular attendees plan to boycott the event. The powwow runs July 29th to the 31st. And in Halifax on Friday, the one-year countdown to the opening ceremony of the 2023 North American Indigenous Games was launched. It will be one of the largest sporting events held in the Atlantic region. Angel Moore was there.
Mi'kmaq traditional dancing and music helped kick off the countdown, when 1 year from now, Halifax will host 5,000 Indigenous athletes. Fiona Kirkpatrick Parsons is chair of the 2023 North American Indigenous Games Host Society. She can't wait for them to begin.
We are so excited. 1 year is going to fly by, and we cannot wait to host almost 5,300 beautiful Indigenous youth from all across Turtle Island, right here in Chipuktuk.
NAG was originally supposed to happen last year, but the COVID pandemic delayed them. Kirkpatrick Parsons is prepared if another wave hits.
We have no thoughts that it's going to be postponed again. We are definitely all systems go. We don't anticipate it'll be postponed, but if in the event it had to be, we would deal with it at the time, and we would regroup and we would keep going, because it's going to be happening in Chipuktuk no matter what.
16 sporting events will be played at 21 venues across Halifax and the Millbrook First Nation. Supporting partners committed over $1 million. One of them is the Atlantic First Nations Indigenous Water Authority. Carl Yates is interim CEO and says youth is the future.
We're trying to build capacity within First Nations, so why not try to make connection with young adults who are striving for excellence? So we're hoping we can connect with them and they can connect with us. So that's why we're here.
The Games will be held over 8 days and will showcase Mi'kmaq culture and build community connections.
These games are life-changing for Indigenous youth. You know, the youth compete very hard to get to the games, and you know, when they come, they meet friends from all across Turtle Island.
Over the next year, 3,000 volunteers will be recruited, and the athletes who will make the teams will be chosen after tryouts this summer. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Chipuktuk, known as Halifax.
We need to step aside one final time, but when we come back, a well-preserved woolly mammoth calf was discovered in the Yukon last month.
When I first looked at it, it was just amazing. It was like something I couldn't fathom.
Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Megan Schaefer sent in this picture of the Northern Lights as seen from Kinnesota, Manitoba. Kinnesota is located on the northern shore of Lake Manitoba in central Manitoba. That's a great photo there. If you have a great picture, email your photo to share@aptn.ca for the chance to be featured as our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting over in the east, 23 in rain in Charlottetown and 19 in rain in Halifax. 22 degrees in Happy Valley Goose Bay and 19 in rain in Cartwright. More rain in 25 in Val-d'Or and 27 in Montreal. 28 degrees in London and rain and 30 in North Bay. 29 degrees in Elliott Lake and 25 and some rain in Sioux Lookout. 18 in Churchill and 27 in Clear and Thompson. Some rain and 27 in Barons River and 22 in Winnipeg. 29 degrees in Estevan and 29 in Saskatoon. 30 degrees in La Ronge and 29 in Stony Rapids. Moving over to the west, 24 and some rain in Fort Chipewyan and 20 in Grand Prairie. 24 and some sun and cloud in Edmonton and 27 in Medicine Hat. 21 degrees in Victoria and 25 in Quesnel. 22 degrees in Prince George and 23 and some sun and cloud in Fort Nelson. 18 in Whitehorse and 19 in Old Crow. 19 in Norman Wells with some rain and 26 in Trout Lake. 21 in Fort McPherson and 15 in Colville Lake. She's around 30,000 years old, but still just as cute as a baby. A well-preserved woolly mammoth calf was discovered in the Yukon last month, and as Sarah Connors tells us, the prehistoric animal finding is a big win for the scientific community.
Her name is Nunchuga. It means big baby animal in the Han language. Nunchuga is a baby woolly mammoth who died around 30,000 years ago. Placer miners discovered the animal while working on Trondequitchin First Nations territory near Dawson City last month.
When I first looked at it, it was just amazing. It was like something I couldn't fathom.
Debbie Nagano is the First Nations Heritage Director and one of the first people to see Nunchuga. She says she was amazed by what she saw.
It looked like an elephant to me. And the photos at that time, the trunk looked like the tusk. So how could this be a baby?
While there have been similar discoveries of partial woolly mammoths, Nunchuga is significant because she is the most complete mummified mammoth found in North America. Her remains also contain skin and hair, an extremely rare find. Geologist Jeff Bonds estimates she was between 30 to 35 days old when she died during the last ice age.
The mammoth either died on the stream bed or near it and was subsequently buried, likely by a mud flow that came down in a storm event.
Nunchuga's body was found in these gravel deposits. Travis Dawowski of Treadstone Gold unearthed the animal while excavating through the permafrost. At first, he thought it was a buffalo.
But then I got down and I looked kind of closer at it, and it had a trunk. And then as soon as that happened, I was like, Brian, it's a baby woolly mammoth. And he's like, no way. So that kind of is how I found it.
Afterwards, the First Nation held a ceremony where the animal was blessed by elders.
Heard silence for about close to a long 4 to 5 minutes. And you could see people were trying to figure out, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and it was very powerful at that moment.
Nunchuga will be kept frozen on Trondequitchin territory while the First Nation and other organizations decide next steps. Samples of her DNA will be used to study the genetic code of woolly mammoths and elephants. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
That might be one of the cooler news stories I've seen in a while. What a discovery. All right, that's all we have for you tonight on APTN National News. I'm Daryl Stranger. Thank you for joining us, and have a great night.